Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mickey. I'm here at the Nashville Reptile Expo, the Show Me Reptile show, and I'm here with Josh Alder with the Exotic Empire. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of his cool species that he carries and a little bit about his business. So, Josh, tell us what got you started in reptiles.
Yeah, so my story is kind of the same as everybody else's. I was always the kid catching toads in the backyard, and I just kind of never grew up. I wanted to spend my whole life working with animals and realized that I could start this little business and kind of grow it from there, and this is kind of what it's turned into.
Awesome. So you work with a lot of different species. You work with, captive born and bred stuff, captive born stuff that's imported, and then you work with direct imports. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Your vetting process and stuff, because you always have exceptionally clean animals whenever you come out to the shows. So
yeah, so basically with my wild caught stuff, which is sort of what everybody wants to focus on, my process is a bit different than how most people do it. I get the animals in and I actually take the time to get them established and feeding and cleaned up. So I'll deworm them if they need it. Hydrated obviously is the #1 priority. So when animals come into me, the first things first is always hydration. They've been in transit for a few days. They've come from some, country far away from where I live. And so hydration is always key. So we, soak them, mist them down, do everything we need to do to get them hydrated. And then we'll put them away, let them settle in. And then from there, we start feeding trials. So nothing hits my table until it's feeding consistently, hydrated, and healthy.
So you mean to tell me you don't get a box in from the airport on Thursday and bring it out to a show on Saturday? Because we don't like those guys around the Show Me Reptile show. Like, fuck those guys.
Absolutely not. We don't do that here. I've never done that. I will never do that. They're animals that don't need as long of time to establish. Some animals adjust quickly, but even those animals are still with me for about a month typically before they even thought of as hitting the show table.
So you do carry a lot of intermediate species, but I feel like people shouldn't be intimidated by those, because I feel like, there's enough information out there in the community, and, if somebody does enough research, they could successfully keep anything that they want to keep.
Yeah, so that's something that I preach to people that's a little different than most people. Like, I always tell people, go with what you like. If you're super into, old world rat snakes, for example, like you really like bamboo rats, there's nothing wrong with the bamboo rat being your first snake as long as you're educated on how to take care of them. So just because the care requirements are a bit different and a bit more, I guess, involved than, say, like a leopard gecko or a crested gecko, doesn't necessarily mean a first-time keeper can't be successful as long as they have the right support and the right information in front of them. So
yeah, I mean, and you're always available to help people, and answering questions, telling them how to set stuff up.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's I think that's the biggest thing that we try to do here at the shows is set new keepers up for success, and they shouldn't be intimidated. I mean, with a little bit of research, somebody could, easily keep and possibly breed these in the future.
Yeah, and there's a lot of species that I'll steer people away from. There are some that are just more advanced, like just require a little bit more experience. But I mean, for the most part, I really do think that a lot of the scary species for beginner keepers are oftentimes just because people don't have the correct information, and things are often made overcomplicated. Like these animals are pretty simple as long as their environmental conditions are correct. As long as you're giving them the same experience, temperature, humidity, barometric pressure wise that they would have in the wild, there's no reason they shouldn't thrive in captivity.
Yeah, exactly. I remember in the early days, that was like one of the things that I always did was I would research like where the animal came from, and then that would give me a rough idea how to set that animal's environment up.
Yeah, for sure. And I tell people too, like, think of what these animals do. Like, for example, like I got in bushveld rain frogs that everybody's been going kind of crazy about, and they're from Africa where the climate during the day, can be upwards of 90 degrees. Yeah, I'll take a lid off so you can check them out. Where they're from in the wild, temperatures can be 90 degrees, but they live a foot underground. That soil temperature is not going to be 90 degrees. It's probably not even going to be 80 degrees. These guys are really thriving in a cooler temperature. And so you have to think of things like that when you're keeping these animals. It's all, it's all research-based, and just putting some time into the actual thought of how should I set these up? How are they living in the wild? And what can I do to recreate that in captivity?
Well, awesome, Josh. Well, as always, it's great seeing you.
Yeah, good seeing you, man.
Thanks for being